So the Habs almost pulled off the incredible comeback, but fell in game one to the Caps. And Cheryl, one issue was that the Capitals seemed like the bigger, tougher team. So Habs fans are calling for Arber Xhekaj to be inserted into the lineup. Do you like that idea, that move?
You know what, Sarah? It's interesting. I watched Arber Xhekaj play in the OHL, and the way that guy can stand up, the way he can fight, the way he can close space and really insert himself in the game with his physical play. So I do understand it when you're up against the Washington Capitals and all the fans saying, let's get him in there. Let's have him have an impact physically on the game with the likes of Tom Wilson. But I think you also have to look at it from another side. You have to look at it from the side of he hasn't played since April 6th. He doesn't have playoff experience either. I think through the first two periods, being the youngest team in the playoffs right now, you could sense that. Anytime you hesitate as an athlete, guess what? A lot of the time, you're going to get hit. And I think that will change over the course of the next game. You saw it change in the third period, just the adaptation. So for someone like Xhekaj, who now doesn't have that experience, he has the ability to take some emotionally unrestrained penalties, right? So can he toe that line not having had played? Because you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot either. And for me, I also don't like the idea of playing 7 defensemen. I really don't. I think it upsets the rhythm of your team when you go, when you go with 7, because, not only is not everyone getting into it, but it just changes the landscape of the forward group as well. So for me, right now, Arber Xhekaj is looking on. He may get into the lineup, but I wouldn't expect him in game 2.
Right. Okay. So the Habs lose game 1. Despite that, Marty St. Louis and the players were very positive afterwards. Do you think climbing back and bringing that game to overtime was what we could call a moral victory for the Habs?
There aren't any victories unless you get the victory in the playoffs. That's what I will tell you. What I will say, though, is that there is this belief, right? They came back. They were outplayed through 2 periods. And as I said, because they're young, I think they were just sort of adapting to the pace, finding a rhythm in the game. And once they settled into that third period, of course, nerves are part of it. You're playing in Washington. It can be really, really difficult, but they found their footing. They were able to be resilient like they have been all year, fight to be in the game. Montembeault had to make some huge saves early in order to keep them in it. And then they find the back of the net, the top line really producing in that. I do think they need secondary scoring, but you started to see the physical nature of the game through the third period sort of take a lesser value on the game. And I think that's because they found their footing. They found their pace. They have found their direct assertiveness. So you take that now, and now you start the next game with that. Now they're in it. Now they've been there. Caden Gooley said, it's like going to school for the first time. Now you know. And now that you know, now you've got your footing, you've got the belief within the room, you push forward for game 2. So you believe in yourself. I think the comeback was great, but at the end of the day, there are no victories unless you get it.
Yeah, that was such a relatable analogy. Also interesting, Patrick Laine said he didn't care about facing Ovechkin, and Ivan Demidov said he liked Evgeny Malkin better than Ovechkin. So, we'll never know if those got to OV, but he was quite the hero in game 1 with those 2 goals, including the OT winner.